This meeting is being recorded.
Hey guys, welcome to the Power of Attorney podcast. I am your host, LeTonya Moore. Today I have with me Miss Keirsten Greggs. Keirsten is a talent acquisition consultant, career coach, diversity, inclusion, and equity advocate. She's a blogger, workshop facilitator, and professional relationship builder. In 2017, she founded Trap Recruiter LLC, a small business committed to bridging the gap between the job seeker and organizations seeking to attract, hire, develop, and retain diverse talent while fostering inclusive, equitable cultures. In her 19-year career, she has implemented creative recruiting strategies for defense, intelligence, federal and civilian contract portfolios, and accumulated a full range of talent acquisition experience, including full life cycle recruiting, executive hiring, talent acquisition operations, training, development, and delivery, talent acquisition, project management, college recruiting, internal staffing, and proposal incumbent culture. He holds a bachelor's degree from the University of Richmond and a master's in management with an HR concentration from the University of Maryland, University College. She is always focused on relationship building, and she engages with a broader audience via her blog, as a guest speaker, and as a guest on various podcasts, just like this one. She facilitates workshops and training, and she is the creator of hashtag Recruiter Problem Meme series. You can find out more about Keirsten and all the great work that she's doing at www.traprecruiter.com. Keirsten, welcome to the Power of Attorney podcast.
Hi, LeTonya. Thank you so much for having me. Very excited to talk to you and your audience today.
Awesome. So before we jump into anything, you have to let our audience know what was the thought process or the creative process, I'll say, behind Trap Recruiter.
So long story short, I am very dualistic like most people, and I love God and trap music. So a good friend of mine bought me that t-shirt that says those words. And one day I was sitting taking one of those Facebook tests just for fun with another friend of mine. And one of the questions was, if you were famous, what would you be known for? And the answer given was trap recruiting. And I was at a point where I was trying to decide, like what my blog was going to be called, how I was really going to step out and, carve my place in a very saturated recruiting HR market when it comes to blogging, when it comes to training, when it comes to landing those good speaking engagements and things like that. So I was like, what differentiates me from others? And it really is my philosophy on recruiting. So that statement in jest, I took it, and it was kind of a prophetic utterance in a sense, because I took trap and made it an acronym. So while I do love trap music, and I do gear my brand to a more to that audience, to an audience that enjoys rap and hip hop. I'm more old school, but I give the people what they want when they want it. So trap actually means trusted relationship builder, accountable and proactive, and it is my philosophy and the way that I execute recruiting strategies.
I absolutely love it. I think it is absolutely brilliant. And I think that now with certainly with the current climate, but I also think, in terms of where we're going in the Western world, that you have to be creative, but you also have to kind of meet people where they are. And the best way to build a relationship is to start with, what are our commonalities? What are some things that we can break bread about, right? And sort of break down those walls. And so since your target group, are those folks that listen to, trap music and what I call contemporary, I don't even want to say hip hop, old school too. But I think it's really brilliant. One of the things, audience, I want you to know with regard to Keirsten is that she is really an expert in the area of understanding company culture, right? And what the impact of company culture with regards to your decision making and reaching out to apply for certain jobs. So I want to focus a little bit on that, because when it comes to choosing a company culture, whether it's from the business owner's perspective or even the job seeker's perspective, because nowadays you have to know you should try to know what the culture of the company is to see if it's in line with your values. Talk with us a little bit about your philosophy behind that, and what are some trends or some things that you see that your company sort of helps business owners and applicants in their job search. How do you guys help them be successful?
Okay, so I'm going to start with the perspective of the way that I choose who to partner with and who I choose to accept money from when it comes to companies. And when I started this, as you can imagine, people were very adamant about me not calling my business Trap Recruiter LLC. They did not want me to do that. And I thought long and hard about it. And I said, you know what? The people that it's for them. If a company doesn't want to hire me, then then what I'm doing is not for them. So I take a look at, what the company's personality is, what are those shared values and beliefs and practices of its employees. I'm very, very cautious to put diverse candidates, whether they be persons of color, whether they be differently abled, whether they be veterans just starting their jobs, whether they be new hires. So your folks just coming out of trade school, just coming out of college, just coming out of high school, people returning to the workforce from an extended break, whether that be that they had a family emergency, whether they went back to school and switched career fields, whether they were previously incarcerated, whether they had a health issue, whatever the case may be, there are some things that change about a person when they go through different parts of their life. So if you don't have an organization that can support you and that you have other people like you that you can connect with and you can build relationship with and then start to network and branch out. I mean, you really do have to start from a place of comfort before you can set yourself up to go out and be in a place where, you can go and talk to the CEO or go and talk to, a manager from a whole different department because you may have an interest in transitioning over there. You have to start somewhere. So when I have organizations who look very, very, we'll just say non-diverse, and they hire from all the same schools. The age of their employees, is very heavily one-sided, or gender equity is an issue. I'm reluctant to put people into those organizations. And if they are sincere in reaching out to me and saying, hey, I want to change that, if they come to me to solve a problem other than I need to hire 5 people to, do network administration, that's a problem to solve. But if they know that they have a problem with making their workforce look more like the world or look more like their geographic location, the people around them, their community, then I'm very inclined to work with those people. Those are my people. Those are the folks that I can connect with, the people that I coach or that I can advocate for and say, hey, this is a great place to work.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that certainly moving forward, I think previous generations were just happy to have a job, right? And a great, what they considered a great career to make a great living. And they were pretty much, they had the one place, they moved up with the company or not, but that is where they were. They didn't do a lot of, moving around. Now, companies have to really think about what are some things that I can do to retain the talent that I have and that I've invested in. And so it's a little different now because employees do have an impact in terms of the future of the company, the profitability of the company. And something that you said was very interesting is the factor of a company making a conscious decision to say, we want to change and be more identical to the communities that we service. How, I guess, difficult, that's the only word I can think of right now. How difficult has it been to really penetrate that once you start to recruit and place people in those type of environments, right? Like nobody wants to be the first sometimes in those type of environments because they can be pretty hostile. What's been your experience with the people that you've been able to place where you do have a situation where the company is pretty much, it just looks one way, and whatever that one way is?
Well, in some ways, I'm kind of putting myself on the line. I'm putting my reputation on the line and saying that I trust that person, that I have confidence in the potential employee, the prospective employee, that they can handle it and that they can make a difference and that they will be not the only or the first. I mean, they'll continue to be the first, but they won't be the only for too long because they will be the person inside the organization that continues to push and try to advocate. And not only that, they will do a wonderful job, and that will help and ease some of the bias or eliminate some of the bias that the organization may have for hiring different people. And at the end of the day, organizations have to decide who is going to set the tone for the company culture. And if you've got all the same people, meaning like you have a workforce that's very, very, very myopic, like your company culture is going to stay the same. It's not going to change. And it doesn't matter how many numbers of folks you add, your culture is still not going to change. At the end of the day, people are going to have to make a decision whether they assimilate or whether they leave. Because if you don't have an opportunity to change it and you don't have any interest in allowing your company culture to mature and become better, more vibrant, more colorful, it will not happen.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. And I definitely wanted us to explore that because I know this is something that's near and dear to the heart of our listeners pretty much on both sides. As a business owner myself, and I know that there are primarily business owners that listen to our show, they're going to grow and they're going to need staff. And I wanted them to hear from you because this is something that people oftentimes don't think about. They don't think about company codes of conduct. They don't even have a declaration of the company culture. Right? There are lots of companies that they don't have a quote manifesto, right? Or company creed that they live by internally in the company because they just are focused on something else. And so this type of information I think is very useful really across the board. I want to shift just a couple of dials, I guess. And talk about millennial recruitment because I know that, I read the articles, I have some clients, as well that have no idea how to, for lack of a better word, really handle millennials. Their outlooks are different. They're a lot more entrepreneurial in their thought process. They're certainly a lot more astute when it comes to all sorts of stuff. And so when you're dealing with a traditional company culture, for example, let's say that the majority of their workforce or the average age, just quick story about me. When I first got out of law school, my very first job, I was the youngest person in the agency. I worked for a government agency at the time. in the agency, in that particular field office, which happened to be the New